Ready to go? Is it 6?
It's not quite.
5:59, all right. Okay, pretty close. Use a full agenda today.
Yeah, okay.
And it-
Thank you. I'll be here in spirit.
Okay. Hello, it's 6 o'clock and I'm calling to order the regular board meeting of the Sunnyvale School District Board of Education. This meeting is available in English and Spanish. Would our translator please give instructions for translation services available?
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone. I'll give instructions in Spanish for those that need it. Buenas noches, se utilizará la función de interpretación de Zoom para soporte en inglés y español. Todos los participantes de esta llamada deben seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente cuando el anfitrión active la función de interpretación. Dicha función se encuentra en el panel de herramientas en el icono del globo. El modo de interpretación para esta reunión será el simultáneo. Gracias por su atención y colaboración.
Thank you. Please note that a recording is being made at the direction of the board and that the recording may capture sounds of those attending the meeting. I see that all board members are present, so we can begin. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to invite Trustee Shen Brewster to read the Living Land Acknowledgement.
Sunnyvale School District is located on the ancestral and unceded land of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, who have peacefully honored and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize that every member of the Sunnyvale community continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land. We acknowledge our responsibility to learn from the wisdom of the Ohlone people and to consider how we might work to repair injustices and to move forward together in honorable ways.
Thank you. Board, we're on to item number 2, the approval of the agenda. Is there any member of the public who'd like to speak on this item? Please use the raise hand feature or submit a card if you are here in person. None? Okay, board, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and with that, the motion passes. We're on to item 3, public comments on closed session item. Let's see, are there any cards for this item? Any online comments? No, any raised hands? Okay, the topics for tonight's closed session are a conference with legal counsel for anticipated litigation and public employee performance evaluation for our superintendent. We are going to, what do you call it? It's not adjourn. We are going to convene. We're going to convene for closed session. We'll take a 5-minute break before returning, and we hope to return about 7 p.m. Thank you. Yeah, like the little bit.
Like when you're waiting for the doctor to answer.
Yeah, I was like,
Okay, oh, I left my,
or like baseball, you know, like the music late.
I need a copier.
Walk-up music?
Yeah, walk-up music, yeah, like that's what we could do, a little walk-up music.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Okay, not too bad. I wouldn't have forgotten my binder, but you know. Okay. Okay, welcome back, everybody. It's 7:03 p.m. and I'm reconvening this regular board meeting of the Sunnyvale School District Board of Education. I see all members present. Reminder, there are translation services in Spanish available. Would the translator please provide brief instructions for members of the public who are joining us now?
Yeah, once they start, we can't.
Oh, they can't?
They're on the other channel.
Okay. See the world icon and join us in Spanish if you wish. Please remember that this meeting is being recorded. Okay, it's time for item number I'm sorry, announcements from closed session. There it is, okay, thank you. Pointing, the Board of Education voted 4-0 in closed session to approve a settlement for student number 124570625. And we discussed superintendent evaluation, no action was taken. We're on to item number 6, comments from the board and superintendent. We can go down the line and we'll start with trustee Hubes-Flamerch.
Hi. Well, yeah, this ought to be the first one again. Interesting year, starting strong, I would say. We already had, well, between the end of the year and now, even though it wasn't that, there weren't that many things that happened, we already have at least 2 meetings with the LAC, that is the Legislation Action Committee. We had one a quick meeting with CLSBA and at least 3 meetings with Hoffman Awards, all of that during the break. So very, very strong and a lot of things happening. And we did have in our first week already the office hours at the Columbia Middle School. We didn't have that many people, but some community members show up. So I think we also were having the meeting earlier than normal. And half an hour before the classes started, so maybe we can, I don't know, check about what are the best times for people who are interested to come. I don't know if it's a drop off or maybe a pickup or maybe another time we can, or wherever the PTA is meeting, I don't know, maybe we can just try to figure out what is more convenient for the public and we'll try to make it at that time. Okay, well, I think that's for today. Thanks. Thank you.
I'll just, Isabel and I were I took the notes of what was talked about there, so I just want to briefly share at the board office hours that Isabel and Mike and I were at. The moms demand action, the one about gun safety and education had come before, but someone came from there just to kind of remind us, keep that in the forefront. There was a father and his daughter who just moved here and she was going to start school that Monday, right? So this week would have been her first week of school, and so they both came and we got to chat with them. And then there was just some from Columbia who kind of shared some like their kids' experiences and some of the things that are kind of hard for their kids at Columbia. And then there was a 5th grade parent who just kind of was asking questions generally about middle school, since her kid will be going to middle school next year. So that was kind of the main topics from that. And then I also just kind of wanted to make note. Well, I thought about it when two pieces. My brain's a little scattered. When we're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, it reminded me of the city council meeting where the swearing-ins were, where it was Happy sat, and I wanted to barricade and not let Eileen get join because I want to keep her here. But it also was great. Like, she will be fabulous there, and so it was a great event. But when we did the Pledge of Allegiance, someone in the audience by me, I don't know who it was, but at the very end, because you're saying all these things that are beautiful and we want for like our country, and they said one day. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, okay. And so I did it quietly, I didn't say it loud, but that's my new thing now, is every time I say the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm never gonna forget that. Like, I'm gonna at the end say one day, right? That's the hope. So anyways, when we were doing it today, I thought of that and wanted to share it with you guys. And that's it.
Okay, I submitted my activities and volunteering to Jesus and Mike for the minutes. We have had a couple at foundation meetings since I was sworn in. I was happy to be able to attend the SMS Staff Appreciation Day and do the counting of candy raffle thing. It was really fun. Some school board things. We had a lunch and learn yesterday about board policy. That was really awesome. I met some new Asia Pacific Islander, APISMA, new trustees as well. But the one thing that I really enjoyed since our last meeting was yesterday at Bishop Auditorium. I attended the neurodivergence in the family caring for yourself and other siblings workshop gathering. And that was really, really awesome. It was a great experience. We had many people in this room that were there as well. And then the psychologist, the man that was psychiatrist, right? That he was running the program. It was a really welcoming environment, and there were about 25 parents, I'd say. And it felt like even though we're in a big auditorium, it felt very close, and it felt like there's true kind of mutual understanding and support of each other in the community. So I really enjoyed that.
Nice. Okay, so I also sent my activities in. It's been a super busy month. Something to share was this week I read that book, The Paletero Man, at Bishop for the first graders through Rotary. And Rotary is donating this month that book to all first graders in the district, which is just amazing. And one takeaway, other than them being exceptionally adorable, and patient, because the book was multilingual, right? So some of it was mostly in English, but with some Spanish, or mostly in Spanish with some English. And one little girl corrected my pronunciation, chocolate. And I was like, she said it very peppily, and I was like, thank you for that. But what I loved was that she said, well, one of the kids raised their hand and said, "Is this your book? Did you write it?" And that really told me that they had experiences with authors, with authors coming and speaking to them. Mm-hmm. And I was just like blown away that first graders knew to ask me, like, did I write this? So I thought that was extremely cool. The second thing was that in the spirit of celebrations, I wanted to let the board know that I'm planning to propose either like a commendation or some sort of recognition for the Peer Connect parent organizers and students at an upcoming board meeting. So you could give Mike any feedback you had about that, and if you have other groups or parent organizations or students around the district that you feel like we should celebrate, or maybe that's something we could talk about at our governance team meeting, is like things that we want to celebrate, as a board and as a district. We could discuss that, talk to Mike, and we'll figure it out, and we'll make a plan to talk about it. And then last but not least, it is almost time for the Rotary Crab Feed. I learned to bring props. There it is, Rotary Crab Feed is Saturday, February 1st, 5 to 7:30 p.m. at St. Cyprian's, and I'm organizing a dessert table with Rosa Kim, so if you wanna just pop in, you can volunteer with me and Rosa for an hour or something. If you would like to buy a ticket, it's $95, $30 for kids 8 to 12. And it's a fundraiser. It's like one of their big 2 fundraisers of the year. So it goes towards the community. Okay, so
It goes to
that's
things like those books then.
like all those books for the first graders and many other things that they fund throughout the city, so. That's it
Great,
for me.
you're a really good Rotarian. I'm gonna report that back. So I was gonna report, Silicon Valley Reads is kicking off their year. The theme this year is Empowering Humanity, Tech for a Better World. And so the way Silicon Valley Reads works is they select books. There's 3 books for adults and 3 books for kids. Their kickoff event is at De Anza College on the 30th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. I'll send you information on that if you're interested. And then for more on reading, over to Dr. Dean.
Yes, thank you. We've been really busy, so want to give hats off to our resource specialist, our library resource specialist, and to Julie Griffin, our librarian. But I've handed you a flyer. We had hoped to get this out earlier than now, but we're excited. We're moving forward. We've been working on our collaboration with the Sunnyvale Public Library as well as our libraries, because we really want not only our students, but our community, our teachers to recognize the resource that libraries are. And so we have our reading campaign, which is Learn Something New, because we want our students and our Sunnyvale community to see libraries as a place that's not just for books, but also a place for resources and other activities that they may want to engage in. And so I've given you a flyer for that. And you also see that the board in the back has been updated to reflect that emphasis around reading. So more to come and more activities to spread the joy of reading.
Thank you. Any other comments, Dr. Geller?
Nope.
Nope, okay. So we're on to item 7, comments from the Sunnyvale Education Association. I don't see anyone present in person. If there's an official representative online, let us know. No, there isn't. Okay, item number 8, comments from the California School Employees Association. I don't see any present. Are there any online? No? Okay, it's now time for item number 9, comments from the public. This is a time to comment about things that are not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any item of interest to the public. However, provisions of the Brown Act, Government Code 54954-2.2 and 3, preclude any action being taken by any item not appearing on the posted agenda. Time limits allocated to public testimony are 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes for public comments in total. Speakers are asked to give their name and affiliation so that an accurate record is reflected in the minutes. It looks like we have 1 speaker card for items not on the agenda. Are there any online? Oh, sorry, 1, 2. Okay, are there any online as well? No, just 2 here in the room, so we'll start with Courtney Jansen.
Good evening, whoops. Is it on? No. Can I talk?
The top?
Can you hear you?
Yeah, you can hear me, right? Okay, I'm gonna go. It doesn't sound,
Tap it.
Oh. How about now? No? Aha, that sounds a little better, okay. Good evening, everyone. I am Courtney Jensen, and tonight I am here on behalf of the Sunnyvale Education Foundation for this comment. First, a quick congratulations to Peggy and Issa for your election and re-election, and thank you to Nancy and Eileen for all of their time and service that they have done. Tonight, I wanted to announce that there is a new grant program that the Sunnyvale Education Foundation, or SEF, is offering for our schools. It is our annual special projects grant program, and this year's theme is joy and purpose. We chose joy and purpose to align with the school district's promise to a community that, quote, every student is known by name, strength, and need, ready to excel in high school and beyond, and to lead a life of joy and purpose, end quote. We thought that was a great part of the mission and we wanted to support that this year. So we are looking for grant applications to both support inclusion efforts that will make coming to school a joyful place, especially for student groups who have been historically underserved by our schools, or for things like enrichment opportunities in music, art, and after-school programming, which provide opportunities to find joy and purpose outside the core academic curriculum. Just so you know the criteria, it needs to be a new or expanded program for either this school year or into the next school year. It does not get to fall into the scope of a district-funded area like facilities or core curriculum materials there. And the application is open to a wide group, so it can be school sites like principals or teachers, it can be PTX groups, it could be district staff, or it could even be community members who have connections to the school site. We have $35,000 for this program. Applications will be evaluated monthly on a rolling basis between now and May 1st. So we are very excited to offer this to our schools. Please help spread the word. We have sent out emails to all the principals, so they should know, but as you see people, please say, hey, come leverage this money. There is somewhere, the grant application is at bit.ly/SEFgrants25. And thank you for your partnership, and we look forward to seeing what everyone brings in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is trustee Pat Carpio Aguilar.
Muchísimas gracias, buenas noches, formidables mujeres de la mesa directiva, muy poderosas y muy encantada de estar aquí con ustedes. Y también miembros del gabinete, estoy honrando la lengua en la que fui criada y amada y ahora la comparto con ustedes. So, good evening, wonderful and very powerful women on the board. I first addressed you in the language in which I was raised and loved in my childhood, and also hello to the cabinet. I just wanted to honor also my students and their families who may be listening online. I am not here today as a trustee, but thank you. I am here today as an employee of the district, and I'd like to, I guess, bring to you my fascination that has erupted lately with time, because I have an agenda that literally says organized chaos on the cover. And so what I'd like to share with you is something that I have been pondering as a school teacher, because I've taught at both your middle schools. I've taught at SMS and CMS, and I now see how much these schools, both of them, offer to our communities and our students in terms of fundraising and just being phenomenal students. And I know that you were speaking about elementary students just bringing so much to the world, and the gifts are so palpable. However, we get to miss out on a lot of that, because I don't know when those wonderful drama presentations that Ms. Beret would have at SMS are happening, because they have a calendar that I would have to go and ask her or call somebody at SMS and say, hey, what's going on there? And I could, but like I said, busy times. And I also love the presentations that I've seen from the school where I work, which is Columbia. And so my invitation to the board and the district is, could we collate what is happening in our district so that the community could participate in it a little bit more? So I live in Northern Sunnyvale, and I seem to have gotten into this cycle of I go to work, I come home, I go to work, I come home. Oh, there's this little thing I have to go do over here. But I would like to see some layering or something that I could look at, and it has everything, like a clearinghouse of all the events that are happening in the district. The parents would come, the students would come, and I would just subscribe to a calendar that is sponsored by the district. So fundraising would be more robust. We'd be able to go and pay it forward to the restaurants that support and donate to us. And I'd be able to go and cheer my students, not just at an away game, but anywhere that is happening something like elementary. I'd love to get more connected with that. So is there a way where we could look at this and bring every calendar in our district together so that anybody in the community could click and subscribe to whether it's fundraisers or events, athletics, drama, anything? And that way we could have more organized chaos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we are on to item number 10, consent agenda items. Any item on the consent agenda is subject to review and discussion prior to being approved by the board. If necessary, any items may be removed for separate action. The public may address the board regarding the items on the consent agenda. Is there any member of the public who wishes to make a comment on the consent agenda or to pull an item from consent to comment on it and for separate consideration or vote? Seeing none in the room, are there any online? Okay, would the board like to pull any item for separate consideration or vote or make a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda as listed.
I second.
Okay, board, any questions at all overall? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, the consent agenda has passed. Thank you, everyone. We're on to item number 11A, Sunnyvale Middle School Campus Modernization Project Update with the Director of Facilities and Operations, Brandon Reeds.
While they're coming up, I'm gonna kick us off.
Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. Tonight we're presenting an update on the Sunnyvale Middle School Modernization Project. It's a project that offers us an incredible opportunity to impact nearly 1/5 of our student population in meaningful ways. Wanted to frame this discussion with 3 thoughts: the village, the opportunity, and the balance. The village. As the saying goes, it takes a village. Our promise as a district is to create the conditions for every child to live a life of joy and purpose. And fulfilling that promise requires all of us working as partners to get there. On this project, we have our facilities team, architects, steering committee, students, community members, teachers, and staff. We also acknowledge and appreciate those who encourage us to be more conscious of our environmental impacts, because every part of this village matters. It makes us better in the end. Regardless if we have different ideas of how to get there, we remain partners in a shared goal: to set the conditions for our students to thrive and to produce more smiling faces like the ones you see up on the walls. To see our kids living out that life of joy and purpose. The opportunity. This project is about more than just facilities. It's about creating spaces that address today's challenges. Middle school is a pivotal time. Post-pandemic, the social emotional needs have only grown. A cornerstone of the design process is the input that comes from our steering committee and focus groups. The steering committee is comprised of students, teachers, community members, and staff. I'm here to tell you, they're fired up about this opportunity. They're energized by the opportunity to create a campus where students can connect, build lifelong friendships and community, and create memories in a space that fosters their sense of belonging and supports their social emotional well-being. To design a facility that offers tangible benefits to almost 20% of our student population, now and for many years to come. What an opportunity. The balance. Every decision comes with trade-offs. Some options prioritize sustainability, others functionality, environmental impact, ease of maintenance, or cost. The team has put months of time and effort into designing, refining, and evaluating viable options in a way that highlights the trade-offs associated with each. If an option has a trade-off that decreases our ability to create the space envisioned by our steering committee, we want that to be clear and transparent. There's no perfect solution that exists. I don't claim to know the perfect balance of these priorities. But as long as we fulfill our promise to our students, or as long as fulfilling our promise to our students stays at the forefront, I believe we're on the right track. So it takes a village, What an opportunity and balance. So with that, those are the three thoughts I wanted to leave you. And with that preface, I'll turn it over to the staff to take you through the updates on this exciting opportunity in front of us.
I said this, like, I actually said it to Joel. He's such a good speaker. I'm like, man, I follow that. But
You have your own style.
Thank you.
and we-
Thank you.
It's
Okay.
like when one of us has to go after Eileen when she
Yeah.
like makes her like comments. We get it, we get it.
Okay.
We've been there.
Okay. All right. Good evening, members of the board. Again, congratulations, Peggy. So to briefly recap this project for everybody in the room, this project is a modernization project which is transformative, multi-year initiative with an initial construction cost budget of $50 million with an overall construction budget of $70 million. Now, the importance of this project can't be overstated. It is going to accomplish a lot of upgrades, modernizations, and needs on a campus that is well deserving of it for staff and students that call Sunnyvale Middle School their home. Now, talking with Joel before this began, I started talking about teams, and as you've heard me talk about our transportation team, our custodial team, one of the greatest things about being a part of this project is developing the team that's going to put this vision into a reality. We have an exceptional team put together for this project. As Arthur mentioned, our steering committee has members that are extremely passionate. We have representation of classroom leads, site administrators that are here in the audience. Most importantly, we have student voices. We also have 2 leaders in their respective fields, QKA and block construction. We have put together the best team to make this vision become a reality on this campus. Tonight, we will review the progress we've made during the completion of the schematic design phase of this project, which by definition is the development of the conceptual design, which is finalizing size, scope, budget, and the relationship of spaces on those campuses. We will also discuss the academic courtyard spaces, their purpose, function, and a material selection. Since our board meeting back in September, the steering committee has met 3 additional times. Each one of those meetings has been extremely productive and collaborative, and as Arthur mentioned, passionate and transparent. These sessions have been productive and focused on ensuring we meet the vision and functional needs of the campus. Joel with QKA, who I'll introduce shortly, will walk us through some of the slides that represent the progress that we've made out on that site. Some of the big milestones are finalizing the placements and functionalities of the spaces, making significant progress on the entryway to the campus, and finally, initiated meaningful conversation and discussion around the courtyard layout, function, and usability. In December, we had preliminary phasing meetings. As you guys know and have seen over the years, construction projects are difficult, they can be messy, and oftentimes require a lot more coordination and collaboration than meets the eye. This project is no different, and from our detailed meeting this week, this one's going to be fun to figure out. It's a challenge, and we're all looking forward to coming up with a successful solution. As we wrap up the presentation tonight, we'll turn it over to the courtyard and academic quad spaces. At the board's request, we conducted a comprehensive evaluation of alternative materials to standard artificial turf. The report attached to tonight's agenda is intentionally neutral, providing an objective analysis of materials based on design alignment, environmental impact, life cycle cost, and functionality. We will also have the opportunity to hear from one of the steering committee members and Sunnyvale Middle School Administrator, Giovanni Bowie, who thank you again for being here tonight. And with that, I will turn it over to Joel, who is an experienced architect, our project lead, design lead for the Sunnyvale Middle School Modernization Project, 21 years of experience, a LEED certified architect, and accredited learning environmental planner with QKA.
Thank you, Brant, and thank you, ladies of the board, members of the cabinet. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I'm really excited about this project. I think campus modernizations like this are really transformational. And the way we like to think about it is what are the kinds of experiences that we're trying to create for the students? What are the opportunities that this project is going to afford for the students and the staff that bring this campus to life? And we're really excited about the progress that we're making on it, the process that we've been following. Both Arthur and Brant mentioned the steering committee meetings that we had. And I think one of the highlights for me in those meetings has really been the student engagement. We often like to have students involved in our conversations, but Sunnyvale is the first time where I've really seen such active vocal engagement from the students. And that's been really fantastic. The kinds of questions they're asking, the way they're pushing us on why we're doing what we're doing, the empathy that they're showing for their fellow students, thinking about, recent meeting we were talking about locker rooms, and one of the girls that was there said, well, what if one of our friends isn't able to reach? Like, how are you accommodating for the accessibility in the design of these spaces? And so, to hear that empathy and that care and attention from the students really sets the tone for the rest of the adults that are in the room. And I think that's fantastic. So I'm going to walk through some of the plan development that we have. I'm going to start with the new classroom building. Right now there's 2 classroom buildings that are in construction on the site. That'll be for the 7th and 8th grade. What you're seeing on the screen now is a similar building, 2-story classroom building that will be for 6th grade classes. The intent of this building is that it's very similar in design to what the 2-story classroom buildings that are currently in construction will be. This building will have 10 classrooms, and as you can see, there will be some kind of interstitial space that can be different uses, breakout spaces, offices, mechanical closets. There's always more that goes into a building than just the core use. So 2 stories, 10 classrooms with some additional space also. One of the things that we're really excited about with this project is the opportunity to create a student commons on this campus. This is something that Sunnyvale Middle School hasn't had in the past, and we think that it will really change the dynamic, the way the students are able to engage, the services that are able to be provided to the students. And so this is the overview of what that building will be. And we've got some zoomed in plans here. Starting at the north end of the building, there's a food service classroom that is intended to provide for that program that's currently in one of the existing buildings. It's connected to what will be the new cafeteria, kitchen space and serving area. That's the orange space. And then in blue, you see moving down the page, we have the MPR space, really the heart of the student commons. And we'll pan down a little bit in the slide. So you can see that largest room in the building, it has tables set up there. It'll be a flexible space. We'll also have operable doors, roll-up doors and swinging doors that open out onto a covered patio. So nice weather, students can go out there and have their lunches or use the interior space. The lighter blue area is a learning resource center, and the small room that's kind of separating the two is a chill space. So this is, again, picking up on some of the feedback that we've received from the students. If they're feeling a little bit stressed about a test that they're taking, or maybe something's going sideways in their social groups, having a room where they can just go and kind of decompress a little bit is something that they're interested in. And so this is one of the ways that we're responding to that, connected to the LRC, so it's kind of a quieter space anyway, but I think a great resource to provide to the students. Middle school is not an easy time as a kid growing up, coming to grips with your emotions and all of the dynamics that happen there. It's great to be able to support the students in that way. One of the other things that we're excited about with this building is the opportunity to provide an inclusive restroom. So in the lower left corner there, you're seeing an inclusive restroom model. There will be other gender-specific restrooms still on the campus. The goal is to provide a variety of opportunities for restroom facilities. But in this case, this is using an inclusive restroom model, which is one that has much more visibility and transparency. The hand washing area, the sinks, are kind of in a common public space. And then all of the toilet compartments are individual private spaces that will provide for increased privacy and safety. The goal here is really to make better restrooms for everybody. We're not trying to just tailor to the needs of any one gender identity. It's really meant to be a better space for everybody. Moving on now to the modernization piece. We started talking about the two new construction pieces of the project. Now we're going to talk about the modernization scope, so building A and building F on the campus. Starting with building F, this is the gymnasium building. And most of this building is going to undergo a light modernization. What that means is that we're going to be providing for new finishes, new lighting, new mechanical systems. We're hoping to avoid the need to do a full seismic upgrade. The building is safe as it is, and there are a couple of different triggers that we might encounter that would cause us to need to do a more extensive seismic renovation. Those are either exceeding a cost limit, which is 50% of the replacement value. So if we spend more than 50% of what it would cost to replace the building, modernizing it, then the Division of State Architect would require us to bring the structure up to current codes. The other would be if we impact the structure by more than 10%. So we're planning to avoid both of those because that's additional costs that we don't need to incur. And again, the building is structurally sound. There's no risk there. It's just that we want to limit the amount of modernization we're doing because there's more work that we want to do on the campus. We don't want to put all of our budget into this one building. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit now. You can see the main gym space there. There's the stage, a couple of classrooms. Most of the work that's happening in this part of the building is actually going to be renovating the girls' locker room. Right now that space is shared with the city. It's divided into two spaces. And part of what we're wanting to do here is take out as much of the interior dividing walls as we can to create one more functional space there.
Can you just point on the map where it is?
It's it. I don't know if I can. I don't know if that's gonna work. Yeah, bottom left corner, sorry. My laser pointer's not working on the screen.
The whole thing is the girls right there?
Yeah, the lower left corner to the left of the blue box.
And where are the boys?
The boys are going to be in the adjacent building. So right now the boys are in a separate portable building. And in the end of the project, that building will be demolished, removed from the campus. So I'll come to where the boys' locker room is. It's in the building A, in the south end of building A. One of the original concepts and a change that we made through the feedback we received from the steering committee was originally the plan was to put the boys' locker room where the existing kitchen is, which is the upper left corner of this plan here. And that could still work. One of the concerns with that was that it was kind of far away from where the girls' locker room is, also kind of far away from the pool. And so the feeling was that it would be better if the boys' and girls' locker rooms were closer to each other and closer to the pool. So we've ended up rethinking our plan. And in the place there where the existing kitchen is, we're wanting to create a student wellness center. So resource offices, speech therapists, occupational therapists, counselors. This would be a central location on the campus where it's easy for students to get the support that they need. It also separates the support, the mental health support from the kind of activities that would be associated with the principal, right? So creating an environment where students feel a little bit more comfortable going for help when they need it, rather than feeling like they're going someplace where they're in trouble. There's going to be some modernization to the PE classroom, which is the other blue box there, and then the music classroom also is going to undergo renovation. Again, the light modernization will have new lighting, new mechanical systems, new finishes. These spaces are going to feel like a new building, but we're just going to leverage the structural systems that are already there and still viable.
And then I see that it's different to this one, so where are they gonna be now, the boys?
We'll get to that here. So that was building F that we were looking at. Building A is what we're going to talk about now. So this is where there's a couple of classrooms. There's the admin space. We're going to talk a little bit more in a future slide about creating a new entry canopy to create a new identity for the campus, a breezeway through this building, a more welcoming approach. And then at the very end of the building, which on this plan is the lower right corner, these are like two pieces of the same building that are pulled out because it wouldn't fit on the slide very well. So the lower right corner, which is the southernmost end of the building, next to where the girls' locker room is where the boys' locker room is planned to be. So
Is
it'll
that an
be,
existing classroom?
there's two existing classrooms there that will be converted to a boys' locker room. Over the course of this project, there's going to be classrooms that are coming and going, right? We're currently building 22 classrooms.
Yeah, I was just trying to visualize where it's an existing space.
Existing space, yeah.
Connie Van's room.
Yeah.
Connie Van's room.
Yeah, so part of the phasing that we're analyzing is as we go through each of these steps, how do we make sure that the school is maintaining the spaces that it needs to operate? You know, this construction project is going to be a couple of years worth of work, and we need to make sure that the school can continue to operate, that there's always enough classroom space and office space, even as this construction effort is going on. So that's part of the phasing that Brent was referring to, and part of the fun of figuring out how to make these projects work. So the boys' locker room there is in the south end of building A, as close to where the girls' locker room is in building F, the gym building, as it can be. They'll be very similar spaces. They'll have the same type of lockers, the same configuration of space, and they'll just be across a breezeway from each other, right adjacent to the pool.
A question about that you just mentioned. So when you're gonna be moving the kids and the classroom from one place to another, are they gonna be like in temporary little cubicles and like temporary constructions and they're gonna dismantle it later, or?
We're not adding any portable classrooms to the campus. There are already some portables on the campus, and those will remain until the end. The fact that there are 22 classrooms that will be completed in time for next school year to start, the two new two-story classroom buildings is really going to help, right? That's increasing the capacity on the site before we start looking at some of these modernizations. So that's giving us excess capacity to what the school currently has, and then the flexibility to rearrange space as we go.
And we own those,
The portables.
those portables, isn't it? No, we don't.
No.
We rent them?
Yeah, there's currently, so the one that's the two that are connected that we're currently using for the PE room and the 4 portables that are brown down the fire lane, those are all being rented or leased.
Okay. And the other ones will get demolished? Repurposed?
Most likely demolished, repurposed, no longer needed on the site.
One of the things that I think is really key about creating a different experience for the students here is creating more of a sense of identity. And one of the ways that we're planning to do that is by adding an entry canopy out in front of what will be the new entry, the new admin space. There's students that come here, there's visitors, parents, there's different groups that need to know how to get to the campus. When I visited it for the first time, I was walking down that long building, and I really had no idea where I was going, right? There's not a real clear location, like here's where you need to be if you're a visitor visiting the site for the first time. And so one of the things that we're excited about is the idea of creating this new entry structure that can create a functional, welcoming environment, something that is a little bit more intuitive, and something that can give students a sense of pride, something that has some identity to it, a little bit of uniqueness that they can say, yeah, Sunnyvale is my school, the one that has the cool canopy out in front of it. That would be a success in my mind if this becomes the kind of space that generates some pride for the school. This is part of the modernization of the admin space also. So currently, you can see a little excerpt of the plan there. There used to be a breezeway that then had some storefront glazing filled in there. And so there's 4 or 5 administrators that sit in that central space. And we're going to reconfigure that a bit. We want it to be a much more welcoming environment for students. So we're going to open that up as much as we can. We're going to keep about 1/3 of that space as enclosed, but we're going to have about 2/3 of it be a breezeway. So you'll see that entry canopy out in front of the building, and then you'll circulate underneath it through that breezeway into the courtyard, which we'll talk about in a moment. That's going to change some of the way that the admin and reception area functions. We're still going to have workstations for the same number of people. The way that's configured still has to be worked out a little bit, to be honest. We've had some meetings with them through the steering committee and through user group meetings, but we haven't figured it all out yet. All of these plans are still conceptual since we've just finished schematic design. So there's a lot of work still to do to figure out exactly what the details are, exactly how it's going to work, exactly where everybody's going to sit. But we've been really excited about the feedback we've received so far, and the possibility that this is opening up for us.
I have a question about the entrance, and it might be more for Brad.
Sure.
There in the sign, in the entrance, there is like a circle thing that, I always wanted to ask, but then I forgot. It looks like a computer wafer or something. I don't know if it's like a time thing, one of those. Wait, are we gonna keep it and what it is?
I have no idea what it is, to be totally honest with you, but we have two administrators here who might know what it is.
I think it was a seal previously of some sort that is no longer there.
Like an emblem? kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah, that's what I think.
Like a distinguished school's emblem or something to that nature.
Oh, okay.
That fell off.
Oh, okay, I always wondered if you guys, like you're gonna open it 50 years from now and you're gonna have a time.
Yeah, time capsule.
Something.
Uh,
Okay, so it's.
Yeah.
But.
Okay, so I think one of the things that we're all excited about talking about is the courtyard.
Can I ask one
And
more question about the plans?
For sure.
Where is the staff room? No.
the staff room, I'm gonna go back here. It's in a similar location. It's the bottom half of this plan here. And it's kind of an L-shaped space. I'm sorry, my laser pointer doesn't really work.
Because part of the L shape is the workroom, so did the staff room change size? Is it smaller?
It's a little bit smaller, but the locker room change isn't really affecting that.
Oh. Okay.
And I will say in the new two-story classroom building, they do have a staff room
They're
up
gonna
there
have
as
a
well.
staff room.
Yeah, so it's a net add of total square footage. I would bet on that. It's just now in different locations, if that's what you're worried.
So it's in separate locations, so it's like it's not one large room.
Correct.
But they could book the library or they could book the multi-purpose room or something. Is that the idea?
For meetings?
For meetings?
Yes.
It's a big staff, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and adding the Learning Resource Center, that can be a large meeting space. Also the Student Commons, the NPR space, where you could fit a couple hundred people there for a meeting also. So I think this project is creating a wider variety of spaces that can be used for different things.
Can I ask about the entry area, the breezeway?
Yeah.
What does that look and feel like? Is it, you're talking about a canopy, is it open air, there's still doors there? And where are the people that are currently in the office, are they to the side now?
Yes, so here you can see a conceptual rendering of what that canopy might be. Kind of a multifaceted roof structure with columns that are supporting it. There could be some benches kind of at the base of those columns that could be a place that students could wait to be picked up.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Some security also provided by those. And they line up with the breezeway that allow you to go through the building into the courtyard space. There needs to still be some security there. So whether that's with glass doors or a fence with gates on it, we need to be able to protect the campus during school hours. And so that's something that the breezeway won't be completely open, but it will be open air. It's going to be within the existing roof structure of the building. So you'll walk underneath this canopy and then enter into this lower space, kind of walk through the building in an open air environment. And to the right of that will be the reception area. So as a student, when you arrive in the morning, you walk underneath the canopy, the gates or doors will be standing wide open, and you'll just walk right through into this new courtyard space and be able to go from there to your classrooms. If you're a visitor that's arriving on the campus, you'll enter into the doors that are to the right. That breezeway will likely be closed down if a parent comes to drop off something that their kid forgot that day, or a visitor's coming, maybe they're new to the area and they want to enroll their student, they can stop in at the office or volunteer, they can stop in, get their badge, and then be let onto the campus after they've been vetted.
Kind of like how Fairwood is configured right now.
So when, after school's in session, then that closes?
Yeah, after school's
And
in
then people
session,
go
then
through the
access is
buildings.
through the
I
office.
see, okay,
You sign in, you get your badge, and then you'll be led into the campus.
thanks.
Any more clarifying questions on this part?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the site concept and the academic courtyard in particular. This is one of the areas that I think we're really excited about, and our landscape architect wanted to be here tonight to share the thought that went into this. Unfortunately, her kids and husband all got sick, and so she decided that was a priority, and we agreed with her. But it's something that we've been collaborating on, and so I'm excited to be able to share it also. One of the ways that we like to think about this type of space especially is what's the experiential nature that we're trying to create? And in this case, I think there's a variety of different use cases for it. We were just talking about the entry experience, walking under that canopy through the breezeway and into this courtyard. So the landscape reinforces that experience also. In the lower left corner of this courtyard space, you can see that there's 2 lines of trees with some concrete. So that's kind of continuing that pathway, a welcoming kind of formal entry into the courtyard. Underneath the overhang of the Student Commons building, you can see all the tables that are out there. That's kind of the lunch patio, right? So you've got a larger paved area where large numbers of students can gather. You could imagine having larger meetings out there. You know, maybe there's a presentation to a couple of classes that happen out there. Or maybe it's just where students eat lunch on a regular basis, protected from the weather. We also have a smaller courtyard immediately adjacent to the music classroom. And that's a great opportunity to have kind of informal performances. Or I could imagine the music teacher sending a small group of students out there to practice together before coming back to the main group. So that's another example of a use that we want to create in this courtyard space. And then of course, adjacent to the classroom building, the idea of having outdoor learning opportunities, having some trees and some planters to create shade, comfortable places for students to gather, to socialize, to learn. And part of that is understanding what the surfacing materials are. Currently in the courtyard, we have a combination of materials. We're showing concrete, asphalt, some turf, planters, trees, and covered shade structures also. In our experience, the best outcomes are usually a combination of these things. You know, there's, if you imagine one end of the spectrum just being wall-to-wall asphalt, you know, that wouldn't be a very welcoming environment. On the other end of the spectrum, we're not trying to create an athletic field here. In fact, we actually like the idea of creating a different environment that's not focused on sports. That's something that I think has been a little bit of an evolution in school design over the last few years, where there's more understanding that not every kid is sporty. Not every kid wants to be playing basketball. The idea that we can create environments that are more suited and tailored to the needs of students who would rather just sit and talk to each other. And that's the kind of space that we're wanting to create here.
And that these are Silicon Valley kids, so the percentage of sporty kids is not the same as in other states or areas.
Sure, yeah. I think the idea that we're creating for a variety of needs, it's a much more diverse and inclusive environment. But we understand that there's a lot of compromises with the materials, and there are some strong feelings about artificial turf in particular. So one of the things that we've been looking at are what are some of the alternatives? You know, we've already talked about how we've selected a variety of materials. We've looked at a number of other solutions also. So some of the things that we're trying to accomplish are creating space that promotes collaboration, that allows students to connect. In some cases, to feel comfortable, maybe just lounging on the ground. And to provide an openness, you know, to have students to feel open with each other, with their teachers, and to feel comfortable. The California environment here in the Bay Area is fantastic, creating opportunities where you don't have to be in the building to still have your needs as a student. So there's different materials, both hardscape and softscape, that we're including. Things like concrete, asphalt, pavers, decomposed granite, and wood decking are some of the hardscape options that we've considered. And then, of course, we're providing for trees and plants and different softscape materials like natural grass and artificial turf. So that's the summary of what our schematic design process has been and where we've landed. I'd like to turn the presentation over to Giovanni a little bit now to talk about what your experience has been with this.
Sorry, I'm not as tall as some of the other presenters. I just want to echo a lot of the things that have been said about the process and the people that have been brought together. And I think from top to bottom, everybody is in it for the same reasons. I think everybody's voices have been heard, and even Mr. Cuffey, he's always concerned about balance, and we appreciate the way that he brings about that knowledge as well, because I'm the type of person that I want everything for our kids, and that's just not always possible, right? So we do have to make a lot of compromises on what's best here. So I really believe in the process and the teams that have been brought together, which I think has been huge. And I'll be honest, it's probably one of the top reasons, besides the students, that I get up in the morning to come to SMS. I am beyond excited about the opportunities that are here. And I will also share my experience from the point that I got hired to the point that I actually walked on campus was when I feel very blessed to be here in this district, and I love the district and I love everything that we're moving towards. But I will be honest that 2.5 years ago, when Mr. Iwasaki and I were hired on and I walked onto the campus, I was like, I am not excited about being here just structurally, right? Like, I walked all over the place. I married into a family that's part of construction, so I started seeing a lot of other things. And I joyfully like to call Sunnyvale Middle the Winchester Mystery School. And I think for those of you that have actually walked the campus, you understand what I'm saying. But also from an administrator standpoint, every step of the way too, I look at all the liabilities. And liabilities not as I'm not worried about who sues us or whatever the case is, but just the safety for the kids, right? And that's the first thing that I started seeing. But I also started seeing that the kids will be kids, and they really, really adapted to the environment that we had. Even though for me, I don't have kids, but if I did, I would be like, I'd be a little disappointed in the facilities that we have for our students. So I am signed on to make sure that I'm here all the way through the end, and there's a backstory to that as well, to make sure that we get this situation right. And not my right, but what's right for everybody. And I think what we have seen through the process, and even working with the construction crew, is that everybody has been like open ears. And not just like listening, but actually listening, processing, and doing something about it. And so I believe in the group, and I believe in the process and everything that's gone into it. I'm still, I know Brant probably at times doesn't always enjoy my company because I bring up other ideas. But it is also something that is continuing to evolve. So some of the things that you see going on, as was stated, it may not be what is the finish, because there are still, the group is still processing and figuring out what's best for the site. And so far, I think we're definitely moving down the right path at this point. So I just wanted to share that and share the expertise of having been in middle school for 23 years, or well, actually 18 years, 23 years in education, I see a lot of opportunity right now for the kids, and I love, kind of the diversity in landscape as well for the kids, because one of the places that I see most joy prior to the start of this recent construction was right outside the science building. There was a little field that kids would just lay out and picnic, right? And they would just hang out there. Unfortunately, they would have to dodge soccer balls and footballs and milk cartons and other things that middle schoolers do on the site. So I do think that some of the quad conception of what we have right now will allow for a safer place for kids to sit. And, we're already kind of moving towards that point. I did an informal survey of alumni, meaning Dr. Guzman and Miss Malcolm. And and that goes way back. We're not gonna add in how many years that is, right? And then we got some other alumni around here. But one of
You didn't interview me.
yes, I did an interview. I will go back. But my interview, one of the other things that I saw that I don't know, I don't know if it the right word is to say that it makes me a little sad, but walking out to watch students eat lunch. When I first got there, we just saw these brown benches, and I saw remnants of the pandemic, and I was not okay with it. I was just definitely wasn't. And, we have benches and things like that, but literally in my mind, I'm like, outside of those benches, which actually should be inside a dumpster, inside the multi, there was actually no place outside of Miss Williams's art class to put a lunch onto a table for close to 30, 40 years. And that was just the alumni that I already surveyed. So, I am very thankful to district office for sending these brand new blue benches that we have, right? And this is really transforming this, the campus at this point, because the other thing that I see is that, there needs to be more hope for the future for our campus, and all of the construction that we have going on right now is really building that. And I think, again, we have one opportunity to make it right, and I think we're moving down that path. So I just want to share that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many people are in the steering committee and how were they selected?
How many people are on the steering committee? I don't have the exact numbers. I can go through 4 students. Let's start with the most important group. And those students were nominated by teachers and administrators, so that we started there. And then we definitely have one PE teacher. We have, I think, one teacher from each grade level as well, to make sure that they're represented. I think we have 2 parents. And then myself and Mr. Iwasaki, and then Mr. Cuffey and Brandt and the whole TKA team as well. So maybe 12 to 14 people. 13 sounds close. I'm not a detail guy, I'm a big vision person.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I know, I'm following Bridget's lead. I did. Bridget brought props, I brought props. Okay, so to wrap this up and to get to the conversation with the board. So as Arthur mentioned, these decisions require balancing multiple inputs. Our team is aware of this meeting and that it may have impacts on design and construction, and all of us are ready to do what we need to do to make these spaces the best spaces for the students. And we're ready to do whatever the board's direction is or is tonight. With that, I'm gladly going to turn this agenda item over to the board for any questions and further discussion, and we can pass these out whenever you guys would like to see samples of materials.
Okay, well, before we do that, we have to do public comment. Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Burns and your whole team. So now, if there's any member of the public online who wishes to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature now. I do have a few cards here. I have two cards on this item here. Is there anyone online who would like to speak? Okay, so we have two cards. I'm not sure of the order, but I know Courtney was here really early, so I'm guessing it's Courtney who's going first. And you can go ahead. As a reminder, you have 3 minutes for your comments. You can state your name and affiliation. That would be really helpful. Thank you.
I don't want to do this. How do I write it down? Yeah, can you fix it? Thank you. I just need a little bit more brute force. No, that's too far down. No. So, okay. Good evening again. Courtney Jansen, San Miguel parent, here on my own behalf for this comment, but also for my kids, although they won't actually go to SMS. A couple things. I'm super excited to see all the thought and enthusiasm for the project. It's great to see this investment in our students. Thank you so much. And I will also call out that I love the all access restrooms that I saw, and I can't wait to see those come to the other schools in our district. You all know I'm here specifically for the artificial turf part of this. So I first wanted to acknowledge and say thank you that the report calls out the concerns about artificial turf and its sustainability, and that people took the time to look at alternative materials. I super appreciate that. I know it took time, that wasn't planned, but thank you for doing that. And of course, now I'm gonna ask you to reject the artificial turf as one of the options in your portfolio, I guess. So I didn't resend you all the information that I gave you last year. I figured it was there. Sorry, Peggy, you'll just have to trust me. And I think I did send some information recently, and I just kind of want to cover that. I noticed the addition of bio-based artificial turf now. I just would like to remind you that bio-based does not necessarily mean that it's organic or that it's environmentally friendly. It just means that it has some plant products in it. I highlighted some of the concerns with the materials that are being used now. And even if those things are coming in from US, you have to worry about things like monoculture. There will still be plastic, which is, of course, a petroleum fossil fuel product that I would like to keep out of our schools. I sent you some photos from the San Miguel artificial turf. So the older grade level was installed last summer, and the kindergarten was installed a 1.5 years ago. The photos weren't great, you should come visit, but there are already pieces of artificial turf flowing around our pavement areas. You know, in rains, if we ever get those again, that will wash away, but it's already starting to break apart. You can see seams in it, and that's after 6 months. And so you think about a courtyard and the repair work and maintenance that you're gonna need to make that artificial turf stay reasonable, it's a lot. Some things that were also neglected. So California State Bill 676 says that artificial turf does not count for drought tolerant landscaping. Valley Water also does not include artificial turf in their landscape rebate programs because they recognize the negative impact of it on our soil and our climate outweighs any supposed water benefits. Some of the things that we're missing from the grass perspective, just a quick reminder, right? Grass traps and stores carbon dioxide. So it helps combat global warming and climate change that we're seeing. It helps to purify our air and improve our air quality. It even purifies rainwater. It helps your soil health. And of course, if you've ever sat on artificial turf versus grass, I like to think you would agree with me that the grass is far more comfortable. So thank you again for your time. I really hope you focus on the truly natural materials for these and leave the artificial turf off. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrea Wald. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Andrea Wald. I'm co-founder of Community for Natural Place Services, along with Courtney, and a longtime Sunnyvale resident. I'm here to share some thoughts on the plans that are being proposed for the Sunnyvale Middle School as they pertain specifically to the student courtyard and the academic quad. The proposed design offers several options for these areas, specifically different ground coverings. Each come with their own pros and cons. I read through the material and sent my comments just recently to all members. I'm not sure you've had time to look at it, so I will just focus on a few key points. Artificial turf will be the hottest surface of all, hotter than asphalt. Artificial turf, since it's not a live material, will wear out and need to be replaced, needing more funding to handle this. Artificial turf does take maintenance, and if not done on a regular schedule and properly, could possibly void any warranty. Food and drinks other than water are not allowed on artificial turf, so no picnicking, as was mentioned previously. Any materials other than the water that come into the contact with artificial turf artificial turf surface should be cleaned off quickly. And chairs or anything that might poke holes into the artificial turf surface are not allowed. In addition to all this, artificial turf is bad for the environment and the health of all, especially those who are most exposed to it, the students. All the harms associated with artificial turf have previously been provided to the board members here, although it was unfortunately mostly ignored when you voted on those areas for the elementary school yards. What a shame. You are all relying on information provided to you by staff and the consulting firm. Have any of you actually spent time on an artificial turf surface? Have you asked any students how they feel about it? Did you ever check out the newer play areas at the Sunnyvale Elementary Schools to see what parents or kids think? And maybe you'd like to check out some of the local high schools in the Fremont Union High School District that have artificial turf and some areas that students are supposed to be laying on or socializing on, and nobody wants to be on them because they're too hot. I've heard from many students who are out on these artificial turf area for sports activities and band, or are made to sit there during some school activity where there's like a fire drill or something, how uncomfortably hot it has been, and we're getting hotter. Please find a better solution other than toxic, non-sustainable, non-recyclable plastic grass. The world already has way too much plastic, and since there are alternatives to artificial turf that are healthier and better for us, please choose one of them. Don't fall for all the hype from those promising newer artificial turf is better, has less plastic, and don't fall for the promises of the artificial turf companies that it's better, has less plastic and toxins, and easier to recycle. None of this has been proven. Our kids and future generations are counting on us to make better choices for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for public comment. As you know, we cannot respond directly to that, but we appreciate you coming and sharing your opinion with us. Now it's time for board comments and discussion. What I'd like to do is, I wanna make sure we get to everyone, we have enough time. We're almost at the 1 hour mark, so maybe everybody could say a comment or so, and then we would have discussion, we can talk about each one. So let's just go down the line, so everyone gets to say their concerns or comments or thoughts. So we'll start with Isabel, okay?
Thank you. Yeah, so I like thank you for, I would love to see the materials, if we can see them, that would be great. I was worried when you say that you didn't have them.
Do you wanna give like a quick explanation of them for?
Yeah, we'll start like that, so as part of the explanation.
So as part of the presentation this evening, we brought samples of the various ground cover material that were discussed in the report. We have colored concrete samples, we have decomposed granite, we have wood chips, we have both of the infills that you would use for artificial turf. We have the generic artificial turf, and we have the soy-based artificial turf, and we have a concrete paver for you.
You had like the little rocks that are not rocks that you talk about last time, decomposed granite.
That's that bag, that brown bag. That's, yeah, basically that, except you have to add a I'm sorry.
You press it down? No, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, you compact it. You add a solidifier to it to actually make it hard.
There's only one like little, like this size granite pebbles. Oh, okay.
No, I think you might be thinking about like permeable concrete,
yes.
perhaps.
Yes,
so
it was like permeable concrete.
Yeah, so that's decomposed granite. It's just missing the binding agent, which has to be added to decomposed granite to actually make it like not fall apart like that.
Will you talk to us a little bit more of this? Like, is it kind of like when you go on a thing that's like compacted gravel, so there's still some loose stuff, but it's not super loose? I mean, a little more information about that would maybe be helpful.
For sure, and I'll let Joel jump in if I misstate anything, but it depends on how much of the solidifier you use, right? So coming from sports, if you know track fields, like they use decomposed granite, like Sunnyvale Middle School actually has a decomposed granite track field, relatively loose. You can add more solidifier to that and actually make it pretty compact. Bishop has decomposed granite pass in their courtyard.
So when it gets muddy, it's not so great, right?
Not great, and like that can lead to dust when it gets kicked up. That does require maintenance,
Yeah.
depending on how much use you have.
What size will this be, like this size and then have some of that around, or it will be full concrete?
No, so those are just colored concrete samples, so that would be large swaths of concrete. We just do them in those sizes because it gets real heavy with them.
And that one comes in colors too, or not, the?
Decomposed granite?
Yes.
There's two that I know of. Joel, do you know any others?
It's
Gray and
basically
brown.
different, gray
Yeah.
and brown color.
Okay, and those are the bio.
These are papers. Yeah. Standard artificial turf, biobacking artificial turf, walnut shell.
What's the difference between those two?
They use-
You could just pick up the mic and walk with it,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
right?
yeah,
Why not?
Yeah. So the bio-based one has a soy-based backing that they use. So all this green stuff here is soy-based. This is just the standard artificial. These are the two infill materials. One is walnuts, the brown one. The other is crushed sand coming out of Texas with a micro bond coating on it. It's supposed to be
And then, even though it's called infill, it's not in, it's on top, isn't it? Like last time, we were thinking of something that was under all the stuff, but it was actually that you just put on the top.
Yeah, so the infill goes on top of the grass and goes down below the blades to kind of prop them up and provide a cushion.
The green stuff.
Okay, and those are made out of walnut.
The brown is. The green is a sand from Texas that has a coating on it.
And the bottom is made out of soy, but then the little.
Or still plastic.
Yes.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, if you don't know, that's totally
Oh,
fine.
man.
Do you happen to know, like Fremont High School, they just redid recently, do you know
fields.
what their infield is?
I don't,
Cause I say, I don't think it's either of these, I feel like they're bigger
possibly.
ball thingies or whatever, so it's fine that you don't know, I'm not expecting it, but just in case.
You're talking about
Just
Fremont
'cause
High School in
that-
Oakland?
No, our Fremont High
Okay.
School here in Sunnyvale.
I know another example of infill is often. Cork is another more natural product that is often used for infill surfaces.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different, there's a lot of research that's going into how can we make the surface more sustainable, more environmentally responsible.
Yeah. And then good for the sports, like less scratches and, yeah, I know that from the high school.
Yes.
And then also it's very important the temperature. We're getting hotter and hotter, so.
Yeah, it's true that the heat on an artificial turf surface is comparable, if not a little bit more than that of asphalt. That's a problem when you have a large expanse, especially. In our case, in the courtyard, we're also including planters and trees and shade structures that are going to be able to provide shade to this area. It's a relatively small patch that we're talking about, and we're able to provide other shading elements around it so that it's not going to necessarily be in full sun all the time.
Yeah, but that
Like an
wouldn't
athletic
compare
field.
it-
Correct, yeah, an athletic field, like a soccer field that's 100 yards long, you can't
Those
put any
get
trees in
very
it, it's all gonna be full sun all the time.
Yeah, but we wouldn't compare it with asphalt because that will never be an option. We will compare it with the other ones, like, the granite or the
Colored concrete.
concrete or something that is not as horrible as the fry pans that are the black fry pans that we normally put.
And like, as long as is it okay if I comment, as long as we're talking on this topic for the artificial turf? Like, I will just say, I read through everything. I really appreciate the report and all the cost information. It seems like the way it's written, it's showing that like the maintenance on grass is higher, the maintenance on other things is higher, but the installation for grass is so much lower. Do you know what I mean? And so like if we're paying maintenance on grass for the same amount of life as the artificial turf, for me, it makes more sense to just put in some grass, So I really am disappointed that we have artificial turf at Ellis. Like I was actually really surprised when I walked there, and it was probably on a plan and I probably just thought it was grass and I didn't even ask that it was, what it is. And I'm really hopeful that we come up with an alternative palette for all of the areas at Sunnyvale Middle School, including the new building that we're building. I mean, how much, just remind me, what is the overall construction cost of the new building going on right now?
$40 million.
And the overall construction cost of this one is
$70 million.
$70 million. So we're putting in tens of millions of dollars, so much money, right? And we're talking about this segment of like what we can do to justify putting artificial turf in. I completely understand, like if this were an athletic field, I would be a little more torn about it, honestly, because an athletic field has a purpose for, the girls' teams having a chance to play at the high school. Like that's what we heard was like, some students would never get to practice on it because of the weather. Or like the playground structure that we approved, right? Like it was gonna be some sort of foam thingy underneath there, in my opinion, because we had to protect the little brains, right? From falling off the things. So for this, if you're talking about something to like lay around on or walk over, like I think that it's gonna be a complicated and interesting design project, but I think that the landscape architectural team with all their many years of experience, I think in the packet it was like over 50 years experience between everybody. We have a lot of experience reading, right? Like between our board, we know how to read. And I'm telling you that it's like very frustrating. Like it's very frustrating to feel like, hey, like they really wanna lay down and we really wanna be able to walk across it. Well, that's also called grass. And I think we're overthinking it. And like, by the time this stuff, like 10 years from now, like it would be at the same price point as if we'd have to rip out and put in 10 years from now, the board in 10 years wants to put in artificial turf, let them go for it because they'd have to be ripping out and recycling or not recycling the artificial turf anyway. So that's my opinion on this. And I'm sure you can come up with like a really beautiful, really functional design within the same price point. It seems like you've proven that you could do it. And it's not what you wanted, it's not what's there now, but I think we're overthinking this in terms of like, well, it's already in our palette, which I actually, it's not for this intention and purpose. And that's just my
So reminder,
2
staff
cents.
came in neutral, they're just giving us these different options and it's for us to kind of discuss and to direct with them.
I know,
like, hey,
that's
this
why
is what
I'm
we
telling
can do.
you my opinion. This is
because
not a direction of the board, this is my personal opinion. Like, I'm just telling you, like, I think it makes sense to use grass there. Or a combination of all things, not 10,000 square feet of grass. Don't say Trustee Watson said 10,000 square feet of grass and she's a lunatic. I'm not saying that, I'm saying it's a complicated thing and I think it'd be an exciting challenge to do.
yes, and we are hired smart people who can come with smart
Qualified
solutions.
people who can do it.
That's what we hope. But then also, this whole circle coming back to the same discussion over and over, and they were saying again, you never gave us direction and we give it and we come back and then we give it and then we come back. It also makes me question who is the client and who is like we're trying to serve the schools. And then when we did the facility plan, I love how we had like 100 people there. I love how we have all these Zoom, I know it was for Zoom, but all these people coming from different schools and we were talking. That was a very dynamic discussion and we learned a lot from everybody. And okay, maybe we cannot afford having 100 people now talking, but apparently we only found the only 4 kids on the school district who don't care about the environment. That's what we were told last time.
Well, I just want to throw out, so a steering committee, right, so if you remember, like, there was a smaller committee who was actually making the decisions for that master plan, and then there was a broader group giving input, right? So you don't actually want a huge group for the decision-making group, right? And I think they like surveyed students, right? So I think it's a similar space, that steering committee is the like, I mean, not final because we make the final decision, so it's that smaller group that's making decisions.
I love that we finally get to see some plans, but it's not, this is awesome, and I hope we kept to have this kind of interaction all the time. It's not like it's been built and then this is what we approved 6 months ago, like when.
Okay, I want to let trustee Shen Brewster say something.
Hi, thank you so much for your work and bringing in all the material options. I want to agree with trustee Watson, the Ellis campus is beautiful and wonderful in so many ways, but walking in and seeing so much turf right there and knowing that that's not an area that's really an area where students can play. You know, what I would love to see on our campuses is some drought tolerant plants, maybe some pollinator gardens that supports bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, you know. I think part of our responsibility as a district is also to kind of teach our students about the environment and being stewards of the environment. And I think having outdoor learning areas that we can also just chill out, relax. Like we don't need all of our chill out spaces to be indoors, right? I mean, I'm a middle school teacher at heart. I know that these kids, they just kind of want to go out and do, you know, with their tribe and hang out somewhere. So what if we had like river rocks going through native gardens? You know, I think it would be beautiful. There are some really, really new and there's interesting plants that we could look into. I think that for drought tolerance, not just grass, but you know, there are some and there's a lot of options. And I think there's also a lot of community partners that we could leverage if that's a direction that we wanted to go with as a board.
And just to add on, I mean, I'm appreciative of the process, and it is not like I am not criticizing the process, but I think like aesthetically, like if you said the school is gonna be very modern, it almost looks kind of retro and Jetsony, like that's cool, but like let's bring the UC San Diego outdoor environment there, right?
I
Like,
see what she did there.
you know what I mean? Like,
but also
Is that where you went?
yeah, and it's so pretty there, and it smells good.
I've
And it smells better than most middle schoolers. It smells nice there.
I feel like there's a really big opportunity for to support electives as well, like edible gardens. We could have kids eating the food that is grown on their campuses, you know. I think this is a great opportunity, and I'd really love to see us to go more natural, to these shared outdoor spaces.
Push the limits on that.
Yeah.
Encourage that.
And there's so
That's
much variety, yeah, it's so, I mean, the buildings have so much variety too, we can do that. Say with
And
the outdoor areas.
the company is also part of they direct one of the Green Raiders for schools. You are part of the
Chips, yeah.
That's amazing. So I bet they super smart coming up with amazing things.
Are you getting the direction that you need? I got no artificial turf, that came through. But beyond that, are you getting what you need?
Yeah.
Okay, so there might be some questions on other parts of the project, other
Wait,
than
before you
just
go, I have one
yeah,
question.
and you might have other things.
So sorry I didn't ask this like beforehand, I just thought of it earlier when you guys were presenting. So this kind of like pivot with like giving us these different options, has that also been presented to steering committee, and did steering committee get to give any input on it? Okay, cause I would agree if they did to hear kind of what they said. So I think, right, like kind of this, we want natural stuff and then take it to them to like help be creative with it, right? Sounds like you have a good team there.
Yeah, I think the feedback tonight has been great. I really appreciate all the comments. To speak to a few of them, I think grass can be a great alternative. Where I was hoping we could end up tonight is that we're not saying that we don't want any soft surfacing, right? Whether it's natural grass or artificial turf, I feel like that's an important type of surface so that students can have that interaction in the courtyard, the academic courtyard especially. So whether it's artificial turf or natural grass, to me that accomplishes the same goal. So I think that's fantastic. We are using a lot of drought tolerant native plant materials. I didn't highlight that. We didn't have a plant palette that we presented tonight, but we're absolutely doing that. Pollinator gardens, I think that's fantastic. If you have somebody that wants to manage it, an edible garden sounds great too. I'm a little bit cautious when I start hearing things like that because it takes a lot of work. And I know that The maintenance and operations team has to maintain these things, and so we need to be conscious of the kinds of things that we're putting into these environments and what the maintenance requirements are going forward. Everything that I've heard tonight sounds fantastic. Like I feel like we're on the same team here trying to accomplish this transformative project for Sunnyvale Middle School, and I think it's going to be fantastic.
And I think you nailed it when you say like drought tolerant grass, any kind of native and drought that is nice for the kids to see. That would be amazing. And see.
Oh, yeah, along the lines of the maintenance going forward, and needing there to be somebody should take care of like a raised bed, for example. Perhaps there could be a way to put in that opportunity to have the hands-on learning raised bed if there's that teacher that wants to do that in their science class, but also have an option wherein it's not just gonna be like a dead space if it's not being used, if we don't have that champion on the campus. It could still be a really beautiful area, just have the option to turn it into more, that opportunity.
So I had a question on the floor plans, actually. So for the culinary arts room, for the cooking room, it's adjacent to the kitchen, which is a commercial kitchen. I don't think there's some barriers to them using refrigeration, stoves and stuff like that in there, right? Currently, like.
In their current classroom?
And they're, if
Like the kids using the commercial.
the
Oh,
kids
yeah,
do
yeah.
not use that,
No,
so.
no.
So my question for like the way it's configured in that drawing, is the culinary kitchen size the same size as it is like in a classroom, in the current classroom?
Yes.
It is the same size. And they had a storage area in there. Do they have the storage areas that I saw on the plan were like farther away, like more in the other space? With that, like I couldn't tell if it was like a library space or if it was.
Yeah, I don't think there was a dedicated storage closet in that food classroom right now. One of the things that we have to do is have more meetings with the teachers, the individual users of these spaces to make sure that the way we're outfitting that room meets those needs. So whether that's casework or workstations, storage closets, I think we haven't gotten to the point of understanding everything that they need to really make that place work.
Yeah, so like before the walls are set, like for exactly where that wall is, like I think that programming would be really important so that it's functional for that teacher, right? Because the current space they had a lot of stoves around the room and a lot of sinks around the room, and then also a storage space, and like there was a wish list, I'm sure, of like, to make it more functional. So, and that other room right next to it is so big, right? It is a big multi-use space, so it seems like there's some space there. Then in the library, the chill out space, I think upstairs in these offices, you have the landing pads, you have like, it looks like the little like Clark Kent phone booths up there for people. So like that chill out space looks like the size of like a conference room or something, right? Like, is that about the size it is?
Yeah, it could be for a small group. I could imagine the furniture having some soft seating for multiple students to go in there. It could be set up with tables. Like the use of the room could change even over time. Right now it's envisioned as this chill space.
Yeah. So is it like glass, like are you envisioning like glass on the front, so it's like a little fishbowl chill space, or like?
We're still figuring that out. The last time we met with the steering committee, the feedback was that they really don't want to be on display when they're in that room. So having it be more opaque to the more active side, the NPR space, and more transparent into the learning resource, so it could still be supervised. So maybe glass on one side, the quieter side of the building, and more solid and opaque on the busier, more active side of the building.
Okay, and then for the front office, my comment is that every time I've gone in that front office, there's a whole pack of kids and sometimes families that are there to see the outreach coordinator. And that sometimes interferes with the work that the attendance clerk and other people are doing, right? But I think having like access for that role or for someone like her is like really, I would think that would be really important. What are you at the
Meaning
level?
like easy access, like not tucked away in a room somewhere else.
Right, and I mean, I know it's real annoying for the other people who work at that desk probably, right? But like they're literally in and out all the time and they're just kind of, because it's all the newcomers come and see her, you know, heritage speakers of Spanish feel very comfortable talking to her and they all come in and they're just little touch points, right? Like, you know, like, oh, I got new shoes, you know, or look at my haircut. Like, it's not anything mission critical. But like those are the kids, like that is their touch point. So I would just say that like, even though it might make sense to push everyone back, like, please consider the access for families and those students.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
Well, I wanna pass it to the team, but just wanted the team to just briefly explain the process of the focus groups.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna jump in on.
Yeah.
So anytime we get down to a space like the administration office, like we met with obviously all the principals, assistant principals, and then all the office staff to get their input
Yeah.
into like what kind of space they need, what kind of connection they need into like storage or records or the nurse or whatever it is. So all of that was taken into account when we're designing the administration office and how it's laid out.
Okay, and then last question for me is about that F building, those along the backside, like on the backside of the stage, sort of, those two classrooms. Are they gonna get new windows or would that trigger a seismic upgrade?
So I'll speak with relative confidence on this one. Replacing the windows should not require any sort of seismic upgrade, not for
Okay.
the amount of that project.
Yeah, if we're keeping the same size windows, then that wouldn't trigger anything.
Okay, great. I'm hoping that that's part of your light overview because those windows were always broken and not functional, but you'll figure that out. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Can I just clarify one more thing in response to your comment about the outreach and kind of that being in that main reception area? One of the things that I mentioned briefly, but maybe didn't make clear enough, we're really trying to separate the administrative function from the wellness function on the campus. So creating that wellness center that's adjacent to, but separate from the admin space, I think will help some of those concerns that you expressed.
I don't know if that's
That'd be
their
interesting,
category.
like if
Where they
she
decide to
goes to the
go.
wellness place,
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Across the hallway.
Yeah, so I guess our ask would be being very mindful of the outreach coordinator who connects with the Spanish speaking students, right? Because it's a priority for us to have them feel more welcome there, so.
And the families.
As you're navigating that, recognizing as a board, that would be one of our priorities, is to make
Understood.
sure, you know, that's, you know, that's all important, but that's, you know, a priority for us.
Okay, well, if there's nothing further, then, you know, thanks again for the presentation and all the materials and all the background work that went into it, like, the pre-work and the cost comparisons and stuff, that was great, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanna add really fast, I can tell that you're like very passionate about this and you really, I just really am impressed with you, like, you haven't been here before, have you? Or presented to us, have you?
No, this is my first time
I was gonna
presenting.
say, I don't recognize you, so unless I'm.
Yeah, I think you've seen my colleague Eric Jobson.
Yeah.
He's the president and CEO of QKA, and we're still working closely together.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to be here tonight, so it was my turn.
Yeah, but I feel good, like, knowing like you're a part of it, because I can just tell you are very engaged and, I just appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I also wanted to thank Arthur and Brant for pulling up the numbers for all this stuff, all the
Total
everything.
Brant.
Because,
Thank you.
because that
Brant.
really made it easier for me to like form my opinion, so thank you. Okay, we are on to item 12, review and action. For 12A, accept and approve the 2023-2024 financial audit report, Measure BB parcel tax report, and Measure GG bond audit report, and procedures report. Their Chief Business Officer, Arthur Cuddy.
Yeah, I'll keep my piece brief. Tonight we have our external auditor, Ahmad Garebe, and he's here to present to you about our financials, the parcel tax, and the bonds. And so, pass it over. Ahmad.
Right, thank you. Good evening. This is the annual financial report for the district. The scope of the audit is to ensure that the financial statements are fairly stated. It is effectively an affirmation of what the management had previously presented to you. It is effectively a confirmation of most of the numbers that were previously presented to you by management. There's a process that starts at the beginning of the year. We start the audit sometime in March. We go out to your sites. We come here in May and June and we look at your internal controls, the manner that you process receipts, disbursements, and payroll. We'd like to see review processes, segregation, adherence to district policies, and we come back after management closes the books. They present to you the financials in the form of unaudited actuals. We come in after the fact. We confirm Arthur's LCFF calculations, property taxes, cash. I mean, he connects us with your creditors and with your bankers and various grantors out there to confirm these amounts. And at the end of the day, the scope of the audit is to tell you whether these financial statements are fairly stated or not. Along with that, you are a government receiving federal and state funding, so you are required to undergo a federal compliance audit and a state compliance audit. And along with that, the voters had voted on awarding the district parcel taxes and property taxes, I assume, with respect to the bonds. And so we test the expenses of these bond measures, ensuring that they, one, have been segregated from district funds, and the second is that they are in compliance with what the voters had voted on in terms of, it's supposed to be expended on school site construction. I'm pleased to let you know that we issued clean opinions on these financial statements, meaning that they are fairly stated. We had no compliance issues to report on, with the exception to a requirement with respect to independent study, if I recall. Some signatures are supposed to be on the agreement. It is a state requirement in there. We did have a couple of adjustments in there, but at the end of the day, what you see here is the fair statement of the financial statements of the district. And with that, I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So I see no one here in the room with questions. Is there anyone online for a question? Raising their hand, it's time for a public comment. If you have a comment, please raise your electronic hand. Okay, seeing none, board, any questions?
Thank you.
We need to make a motion, I think.
Oh, sorry, yes, motion to approve? Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve how do we phrase it? The audit, something about the audit.
I think it will.
There's a recommendation on the bottom. It's to the board accept and approve the financial audit report. It's on the bottom of the.
12, okay. Accept and approve, okay, the financial audit report, Measure BB parcel tax report, and Measure GD bond audit and procedures report.
I second. Okay, any discussion?
Thank you.
No, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for all the paperwork and heavy reading.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're on to 12B, approval of resolution R 2513 in the matter of reaffirming support for equal access to education for all children and families regardless of immigration status.
So this resolution, it's actually kind of easy to write because it's grounded in our district goals, in our district promise, and in the law. And so what it's intended to do is to restate our values as a school district, to provide a safe place for all students and families in our community, and also to reassure the community that we will follow the law in protecting our students when they're on campus.
Okay, let's see. Thank you very much. Do we have anyone to comment on this item? Any member of the public? No one in person? Anyone online? Please raise your electronic hand. No? Okay, board, do we have a motion? so we can discuss?
I move to approve resolution R 2513 in the matter of reaffirming support for equal access to education for all students and families regardless of immigration status.
Do I have a second? To discuss?
I'll second.
Okay, Michelle, thank you for seconding. Okay, board, any comments or discussion?
I do have, and we went today, we were talking with Ottilie and we were also questioning a lot of these issues. And we've been talking in CLSBA, the different definitions about safe haven or, all the legal definitions that I put on the questions. And I was just curious if there is anything else we can do, and there are other directions that we can give our employees, as in what to do in the moment of crisis. How do we, can we actually check if whatever paper someone is bringing is enough? Who do they have emergency phones to call lawyers to see if this is valid, how much access we can give to a particular team or people, all those questions that come to light into one of these crisis situations. And if there is a zone, for example, we have the zones where nobody can park in front of the school while the school is in operation. So is there any zone around the school when they're picking the kids, or that is safe, or there is a trustworthy area around our borders, not just inside the borders?
So for the first part of that, the frontline staff, the office staff will be directed, if someone makes a claim that it's just like any law enforcement coming on campus. They will refer it to the site administrator, and then the site administrator will call Paul or me or Tasha. So this frontline people, that's the training that we're gonna provide for them. We're not gonna ask anyone to violate, well, actually, that's what we're gonna ask them to do. And we're gonna make it really clear to them, we're not gonna ask them to break the law, right? So that part's clear, and we know what to do, and we're getting trained, we're getting the same training. All my AXA meetings this week have been about the same type of thing. And the county Office of Education is doing a really good job of putting together a toolkit that all the districts in the county can replicate, and even model trainings and all that kind of stuff for us. And so we're implementing that as well. In terms of a safe zone, I'm not sure what that would look like. Visitors aren't to come on campus, but off campus, they're off campus, so.
I mean, wasn't there a state law proposed recently that would create a buffer area around schools? I can't remember, either it is a law that I was reading, or it's a proposed law that would say X amount, just like there's only certain businesses that have to be a certain distance from schools.
Yeah.
I think there is something out there being proposed right now.
Yeah, that could be.
Any comments, Michelle?
I just have, my one thing is I think this is great, and staff's probably already planning on this, but I would say the more important piece than the resolution is updating our board policies to make sure we're very clear on this stuff, and I don't know if ARs need to be adjusted too.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming that will be coming to us in the coming months.
Yeah, there isn't any legal change. What I got from my AXA meetings was that there's some laws that are being proposed that just kind of consolidate things. They don't actually change things much, but they just sort of, I forget what the word is. Consolidate, that's not the right word. The Attorney General, the last Attorney General's opinion that people follow is actually the same one as the previous Attorney General. He just wanted his name on it. So it's not that different. But we are awaiting if I don't have it right here. There's an Assembly bill and a Senate bill, and they're complementary but not identical.
Yeah.
So we'll be waiting for that, and that would be the time to update our policies.
And then maybe it'd even be, because I know one of the questions out there was are we sharing this out? Which, I mean, we can share the resolution, but really resolutions don't hold as much weight as policies. So maybe we want to take our policy, even though we're not changing right now, and just say, this was our policy previous and our resolution is affirming this policy, you know, so
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that possibly, just an idea.
I would just say we have communicated with our site leaders, so they have that awareness. And even more so our social workers and outreach leads, assistants who are supporting at the campuses. So it's better that they redirect to those who are working through this, understand what's needed and so forth, and that's kind of what our protocol is. In addition to that, it's more about being proactive than reactive, because once you become reactive, of course, it's too late. So it's on the pre-education and those who have the expertise to provide and guide and direct. They're doing that, and they've actually been doing it before some of this stuff has actually been coming
Yeah,
forward.
I
They've
think-
kind of been proactive.
Yeah, part of it was like getting that information out to our community to be assured that we are going to like,
Because of the fear.
yeah.
The fear that's mentioned in the resolution and the fear in general. We were just at a meeting today where someone was saying, you know, a kindergartner in their district was telling them they don't wanna come to school anymore because they're afraid, you know. So I think it's the fear, I guess I'm interested in how we're gonna reassure families, you know,
Of all the things we're doing.
proactively.
Right.
Did you wanna say something, Peggy?
Yeah, my comments were mostly about where's policy and resolution, where's that overlap, because we're all in that SCCC SBA meeting. So it'd be great, like Michelle said, to pull up, this is our current policy, we are reaffirming this with the resolution, but I think the next aspect is also reassuring the community proactively, because there is a great sense of anxiety about, like, even what do we do if this were happening right now in our district, what would that look like? And I think there's a lot of fear around that, so if we're able to communicate with the families, that would be great.
Yeah, and that's perfect, because I'm just reading the resolution and it cites the board policy and the administrative regulations, so that's the basis for that, like, hey, this is, you said it perfectly, it's reaffirming our policy.
So can you just repeat what the communication plan is for this?
So, it says it at the end, we distribute it to all these people, but that doesn't get to homes. And we'll communicate with families, I think kind of the way you described it, like we passed this resolution, but we'll put it in like plainer English, not that, you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah.
more concise.
But yeah, some of us often wanna read
Accessible.
the million whereases, so a
Yeah.
short little
Yeah.
blurb.
Is that something that can go into like a weekly newsletter, since all the schools have
That's
newsletters?
probably, something like that. She's the expert on
Yeah, I
that
think
stuff.
the sooner the better.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else, board? No, okay, so do we have a motion? Oh, we had a motion and everything we discussed. Okay, would you like to vote on it?
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed, thank you. Okay, the approval of resolution R 2516 in the matter of establishing a procedure to fill the board education vacancy by provisional appointment. Dr. Gallagher.
Yes, so as we know, trustee Lay went to city council, so that's why there's only 4 of you here now. So our choice is to appoint or have an election. I really appreciate the board asked for an estimate from the Register of Voters, and as you saw, it's at a minimum somewhere over $800,000 for a special election. So that's just not a prudent use, in my view, of taxpayer dollars. We've had good success in the past when we've gone through the appointment process. As long as we do a good job with community outreach, and I know that we'll do that, we can find a good replacement. So the resolution is here, and it kind of captures the process that we would use. It's a tight timeline, 60 days from the day that trustee Lay submitted her resignation, but this timeline accomplishes that. So I'll stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'd like to call for public comment. If anyone online would like to comment on this item, please raise your electronic hand. Okay, seeing none, Board, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution R 2516 in the matter of establishing procedure to fill the Board of Education vacancy by provisional appointment.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thanks. Okay, let's discuss. Michelle and I worked on this as a subcommittee, so we're familiar with the timeline. Michelle, is there anything you want to point out about it? I think for me, I just wanted to point out that there was a possibility that gives us, we wrote it in a way where if we can make a decision on the first meeting, great, but we have an opportunity for them to come back the following week if we need a second round of interviews. And then they would be installed at an additional board meeting that we would have to call at that point, so for March 4th and 6th. So the official regular board meetings are here, but then there's these other meetings that we're adding into the mix. Right now we have we wanted to give 2 opportunities for people to have a orientation or a meeting, so we have one during the day and one in the evening.
I guess you could announce the times of those.
Right.
So it's
And
the
I
Thursday.
just wanted to clarify for the public that we are looking for applicants who live in this trustee area.
Yeah, trustee area 5, which is mostly Fairwood Lakewood and a little bit of the right below, is it 101? Right below 101? Up in the north side of town. So we're gonna have the application packets would be available online tomorrow. And just to clarify, the informational meetings would be Thursday the 23rd in the evening for an hour. And then
6 p.m.
for applicants at 6 p.m. And then the informational meeting for applicants on the 28th. January 23rd. And then January 28th, we would have the information meeting for applicants midday. Is that at noon?
At noon.
Yeah. So, and the deadline to submit applications would be February 10th. And then that would give us time over the February break to review the applications.
Well, it'll be before the break, that week.
The week before the break, oh yeah, to get it ready for
The board
board
packet goes out that
packet,
week, yeah.
right? They'll check everything for completion, and then the board meetings, the interviews would be on the 25th. Swear in the new board member, hopefully the 27th. But if not, we could go into the following week. So that is the plan. Any thoughts or suggestions or changes?
Thanks for working on it. Very nice, thoughtful questions. And I like this, kind of the redundancy and, if we need more time, we have that built in as well, and as well as multiple opportunities. So this looks good. And I'm glad it's achievable in our time.
We had sort of thought, Michelle and I had sort of thought that we would come up with the interview questions. But if you wanted to weigh in on that, and just let us know, just someone else. Like it has to be a subcommittee of 2 to create the interview questions beforehand. So
I think what we could do is if other board members have potential question ideas, give them to Mike. And then Mike can just give us that list that will.
And then you won't know who they're from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Does that sound okay or?
Okay. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And then unfortunately though, then you guys won't see them because we don't want the public to see those questions, right? So you will not see those questions
until the
night of the meeting, right? So the candidates will be here, there will be a whole kind of spiel that Bridget will do, then the candidates will be excused. We will then go over the questions, kind of decide who's gonna ask which questions, what the interview process is gonna actually look like, and then candidates will come in. And
one at a time.
Yeah.
Or there were some districts, we talked about some districts where the candidates are all in the room at the same time and then we switch who gets to go first, going back and forth, but when this district did it last time, they had people in the McKinley room.
Yeah. So we liked the idea.
We liked it,
just one at a time, more like a job interview idea.
So as the subcommittee, are you making those kinds of decisions about what?
We're asking you,
Okay.
we're asking you right now.
how do you say who is gonna come to the interview? Like everybody who put a, oh, okay.
Everybody who has a complete application.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone has a application. And how it was, which our plans do very similar, so how it was when I was part of the process, right? I don't remember all the details, so part of it is my memory plus looking at the script of what they used. They all of us came in, right, the stuff was shared, then we all went into the McKinley room. I'm assuming it was a random draw of the order that we went, I don't really know how that got picked, right? And so then we were just all, and it actually was like kind of fun, we had like some water and snacks and like, they're all great people, so we had great conversation. But someone would come in, they'd do it, they'd go back out, right? Technically, they can come in here because it's a public meeting, so technically they could have chosen to be in here, but they're all asked to be in there to respect that, like, you don't see the questions ahead of time, and everyone, you know, respected that. And so then they went, and they did that, and then we will have a paper, right, that essentially allows us to score them. And then all of that kind of gets compiled. I can't remember the exact process. We were looking at, we'll basically just use the one that was done before. And then if it's close, there might be narrowed down. Like that happened, like we all came back in, they narrowed it down. I can't remember, I think there was 3 of us that they kind of narrowed it down to. So the 3 of us were then asked to come to the front row. We were each asked a few additional questions, and then they made a motion to, because they didn't make a motion to discuss, they made a motion, they discussed, they ended up deciding to go with that motion, and that's what they voted on.
So in the high school district, when they did the appointment, there were, I don't know, like 8 people, let's say, and then there was a ranked choice process for voting, and that's how they reduced it to 3. I mean, if we were so lucky to have like 8 candidates, right?
I would be very surprised since it's such a small area.
I agree.
My hope, if we get 3 to 5, I will be happy.
But would we want to kind of whittle it down to 2 or 3?
Yeah.
If there were 5, let's say.
Yeah, and that's what we're kind of saying, is like,
in that same night.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one that clearly just rises to the top, we might just mostly have our decision.
Okay.
But if there are a few that are close, we might want to say, okay, let's talk to them. So the ideal is that we're making a decision that night, right? But we have those extra dates. But I really think this process should be very different than the high school process for multiple reasons. And so I really think that it will pretty easily be able to happen in one week.
And then the outreach to those schools, are we planning?
Yeah, that
or
was my-
staff? Who will go?
So we have something drawn up, an announcement that's gonna go out tomorrow.
And is that an email that's gonna go out to every family who's within that trustee, or is it just an announcement?
How do we send it out? Yeah.
It's going out to all.
Just to everybody?
Yeah.
Cause that's how, I was a parent in the district and I got an email that said, hey, there's a vacancy. Yeah. And then it also was on the district website, it was the first thing that popped up if you went to the district
all
website.
that. Yeah. It's just so quick, that's the thing.
So would it be appropriate for us to assign like different board members to go and like talk to their PTAs, or would that be something that we could just do like kind of like we do with like the board, like when we're coordinating like a board site visit?
You could, but like, who knows if they have a it's such a tight timeline.
Yeah.
So yes, I think you should do everything you can for outreach.
So maybe I'll set up a little sign up sheet, like.
And I think we should go to, I don't know, if there is any event from now until then, open house. I don't
Principal's
know,
coffee.
Walkathon, it's not gonna be a
Fair-
walkathon, but
Fairwood
whatever
has-
public thing
Fairwood's
is, we should
open
put a
houses
table.
next week or the week after.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, dance, whatever, we should put a table, any public thing.
Columbia Middle School, Lakewood, like all the schools, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great, all right, so any other discussion before we vote, or? No, okay, so yes, sir?
I need 2 subcommittee members.
I think it's Michelle and I. I think we're still there. Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, chair votes aye, motion passes, thank you. Okay, and we are on to item 12D, the approval of the amended board calendar. I feel like we've been here before.
I know, it's a lot. So basically the change on this one, I think, is that we moved the governance team development from February to March. So that's what those 2 days are. And then February 6th will be a regular typical meeting, and we filled it with business, so there was no problem doing that.
Okay, if there's any members of the public who would like to speak on this item, please raise your electronic hand, as there are none in the room. Okay, seeing none, board, do we have a motion so we can discuss?
I move that we approve the amended 2024-2025 board meeting calendar.
A second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Michelle. Okay, board, any comments or questions or?
Anyone, I might have missed it because I was looking at something else, but did you guys, Mike, did you also say that added governance, the Friday morning, that was an added one too? Just so everyone make
Yes,
note
March
of that.
28th.
Yeah. That's been there previously, but then just, or we talked about it previously, but we just didn't get on.
Yeah, it's on there. I'm looking at it.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, presentations. We have presentation on enrollment projections, 2025 through 2029. The Board of Education will hear a report on the student enrollment projections for the school years 2025 to 2029. The Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources and Information Systems, Jeremy Nishihara.
Good evening, board. Good evening, translators. It is 9:08 and I am ready to rock and roll on the enrollment presentation, so please, let's strap in. All kidding aside, you've had a lot of concrete information tonight about the SMS campus, as well as the important resolution we just passed, so now I'm gonna take us into a little bit more of a loose land, if you will. These are projection numbers, so these are gonna be approximately right and exactly wrong, so I'm trying to prepare you for this mind shift. We always like to start with the context of where we are. So we were here, or I was here back in September, October, talking about our staff recruitment and retention. We received the demographer's report in October, November timeframe. Staff made meeting of it, and I'm standing here in front of you now in January to give you our enrollment update presentation, and which is going to kick off our registration and open enrollment. So that's kind of the framework of where we are. All right, the next presentation roadmap today is going to be a brief look at our enrollment data, the 5-year enrollment projection report, and then the majority of it will be spent on the planning and implementation of what it means, as well as a strategic plan intersection. And I'm proud to bring a new metric to you tonight called the flux metric. All right, so the entire demographer's report is included in the board packet. Peggy, for your knowledge, we used to do this a little bit differently. Actually, the demographer's report used to be all about the report. So we would talk about student generation rates to that effect. About 5 years ago, we decided to flip that, where the sense of what do we do with this data was deemed more important and more interesting to you and the public. So here is the net of the 5-year demographer's report. Is that this year our enrollment rose for the 24-25 school year. This is an anomaly actually in the county and a counter trend to what we've been experiencing over the past few years. The demographer identified the following one-time factors to contribute to this. So there were smaller 8th grade classes exiting from last year to this year, over the past 2 years versus the incoming kindergarten classes. It was just kind of that piece. So that's a structural decline. In addition, we're still seeing the impacts of the closure of the Summit Denali Middle School campus, which is actually holding our middle school numbers up as contrary to what we used to have, where there was a decline from 5th grade to 6th grade. And then we continue with our transitional kindergarten expansion, and we're at full implementation next year. And so that has contributed then to our overall enrollment growth. The forecast is that Sunnyvale School District's total enrollment will resume or decline next year. So we're slated to decline 45 students overall. But the big part was last year I was standing here and I was saying shockingly to you that we're projected 5 years from now to be sub 5,000. We have then revised that to now be around 5,300 students in 2029. All right. let's look at some numbers. So it's hard, this little eye chart here, these are actual numbers dating back from 2016 through 2024. So I just want to highlight three aspects of this. So the little number 1 there is showing in the 2018 school year, that was our peak, 6,670 students, grades TK through 8th. And then you can kind of see that dynamic I just described from 2022 to 2024 was actually an increase from 5,456 students to this year at the date of this report in October was 5,765 students. That was primarily due to the little number 3 in the corner there of our increased growth of the transitional kindergarten. You can see during the 21-22 school year, which was our return in person, our TK numbers actually dropped to 85, but then we started to see an influx back in with the expansion of the dates for transitional kindergarten. So those are actuals. Here's another view of this, and again, I'm gonna try to maybe revise this chart because again, I go all the way back to 2015, and you can kind of see from the upper left-hand corner, we were flat. The two things I wanna show here today is that we usually saw, if you look back at the left side of the chart, every 5 dots is a year, because I tried to show 5 points within the school year, just so you can see the trend within the year. We would start the year, tick up, and then by the end of the year, we'd be down. You can kind of see that pattern repeating itself. There is that first big dip here. So that's that was the pandemic. So that was the first year of that pandemic, the C-19 shutdown. And then the virtual year, we continue to lose students through that. That's that purple line. And then the other giant dip down where we hit 5,400 was our return in person year. Interestingly enough, as you can see, because of the dynamics that we described with the Summit Denali and the TK expansion, we're actually back up then to the right before the return in person dip at roughly 5,800. Okay, so I might take off next year a few of the, because it's kind of flat on the left side, 2015, 2016, just so that it gets a little bit bigger. So, all right. Now we're moving into the projections. So 5-year enrollment projections, the demographer, all of his methodologies laid out. So again, I just wanted to kind of show what this number's here on the left side, with the number 1 on the right, it does show the resuming our orderly decline. So next year we're projected to be 5,720 students, slated to lose about 70 or so a year. And then 2029, the projection grades TK to 8 is 5333, okay? Look at the number 2 there that I projected. These are a breakdown. These are not cumulative. They're just actually, it's based off of the front point. We're not losing 142, 194 each year. These are cumulative. The end of the bubble that we see right now that's moving through our upper grades, 4th and 5th that enter middle school, that will reverse in October of 2027, meaning that you can see how the middle school column, the positive numbers, the 21, the 13, and the 29, will then start to actually decline because those bubbles would have moved through. Middle school is going to hold steady for the next couple of years and then start to decline. We'll see the decline more with the incoming kinder classes. And then again, I just wanted to highlight the number 3 on the left side really shows the projections of our TK classes. We have been wrestling with the calculation, and so we've settled on the fact of, for the most part, we took 80%, we've had the demographer assume 80% of the incoming kinder class just to see, and we're going to look at those numbers every year just to really see if our projections are correct. In the past, we were doing a lower estimation. We've kind of bumped that up based off of our current trends. So those are the 5-year enrollment projections. I like to show this chart next is kind of a drill down, and this table shows just the neighborhood attendance area, the student generation for each neighborhood school. This doesn't take into account open enrollment or anything to that effect. So the fact that the top level in 2027, Lakewood doing down 89 students, that may not actually hold true. This is just of the birth rates within the students generated from the Lakewood attendance area will be down 89 students. So I highlight Lakewood will be in theory down to 325 neighborhood students. And then really look at Cumberland and Cherry Chase. They're going to be also sub 500 if these numbers hold, which is a little shocking considering we were at Cumberland yesterday talking with the staff, and those long time staff members there remember when it used to be 700, 800 students. And then I just pointed out at the bottom, the middle schools will hold steady. Columbia is still going to tick up, interestingly enough. And then, but Sunnyvale Middle will be coming back down, settling around, hopefully around 1,000. So those are the neighborhood generation numbers. So then what do we do with this information? We're in the last phase of our TK expansion, so we're planning on where to land classrooms in the next 2 years. We'll be announcing that shortly when we're in the final phases of solidifying that, so I don't want to announce that now. But again, our main goal is to go from the condition where we used to have only 7 TK classes and we required every parent to open enroll into one of those because we were only on, I think, 5 of the campuses. To now where we have a TK class at every school site, in addition to even a Juntos TK. So that's super exciting that we've been able to fulfill that piece. And then open enrollment is also something that we use these projections to just make sure that we're not, our goal isn't to stuff everybody and honor every single request and make one school the largest in the district. And so it really is using these projection numbers to make sure that we can accommodate neighborhood students, because again, that's the number one draw, as well as accommodate as many reasonable open enrollment requests as we can. And so all sites will be open for applications, just as they have been in the past, but we have the caveat with limited capacity of Cherry Chase, still Cumberland, because there's still well over 500, Ellis, because that is our largest elementary, and then Sunnyvale Middle, because again, they were approaching 1,100 students. We want to make sure that we can have a great comprehensive middle school experience for everyone who attends. All right. This is a chart requested last year, so I want to talk to this. What this is our neighborhood enrollment versus other attendance area enrollment. So the majority of the proxy is through open enrollment, but there could be other mitigating factors like SDC student placement, the special program. So just to kind of take a look at the size of the bubble is just a representative of the size of the school. And then the higher it goes up the chart is meaning more out of district attendance area, and then the more to the right, it means the more neighborhood enrollment. So if you can see here, just in general, the first 2 big bubbles up top, I believe, are San Miguel and Fairwood, showing that they are roughly 50-50, if you will, in their open enrollment and neighborhood, but again, relatively small. Bishop is the interesting one. They continue to grow. And they're kind of there in the middle. And again, this is a combination of I think open enrollment, just given the fact of where they are in the district, the proximity of them being in the middle, and not to mention that they have a fantastic looking campus. And so that's something that we want to keep an eye on. And then all the other 5 schools are neighborhoods, pretty strong neighborhood schools. So that's on the left side. The middle schools are not that exciting. Columbia is around 600-700 with primarily neighborhood, with a little bit, you can see the bubbles a little bit up. I think that has to do a little bit with the Juntos program. And then Sunnyvale Middle School is around 1050, and then they're solidly neighborhood. So we'll try to bring this back because I know that was an interest when we had the conversation about programs of choice. It's just something that we're kind of keeping an eye on. Other initiatives is the fact that this is the projection numbers for next year. We want to see the start of registration so that we can really solidify our staffing season. So Mary Beth and I are preparing for that component. And then we work very closely with Arthur and Brant, where the demographers report, they take that and then utilize it against the facility master plan and the future modernization projects to kind of see where we're needing to go looking down the line 5 years. So that's a nice intersect there. In closing, the strategic plan intersection. So we challenged the SIS team to really take a look at the promise where every student is known by name, strength, and need. Weirdly, enrollment is kind of this very individualistic thing, because I know there was a question about, we have newcomer English learners, so we do know them because we do the home language survey, they'll take the LPAC and those types of things, but we tend to look at things in the aggregate. So the challenge for the enrollment is like, how do we manifest this, our promise to really be able to drill down a little bit? So I'm here to debut the flux metric, and I only gave a sample snapshot. And the reason why I think somebody asked for all of the data right now, I'm not ready to quite release that yet because we're still in the 2nd year of collection. And so we don't want to make overly too much meaning based off of 1.5 data points. But I wanted to just show you kind of how we're trying to drill down and see students at a different level throughout the year, whereas normally you would look at enrollment of a school as just one total number. These attendance months is how we report to the county anyways. So we're really trying to see how many students are coming in and out throughout the year and really see what that kind of does. So this is Vargas is our sample metric. Last year overall, you can see that they had 41 students net add over the year with 27 back out. So that's something we want to take a look at. And then that gives them a general flux metric of 16%. But again, I don't know, that's, like I said, that's a made up number. Well, it's not a made up number, but the context of what it means yet is we want to be able to collect a little bit more data. But this is our effort to drill down. The area that I really want to take a look at is the P2 collection, which is basically the December, January, February collection month. Last year, we had 121 students join us during that period. And so that's something we do want to kind of take a look at, that if this pattern repeats, knowing that we have 2% of our district showing up mid-year, what does that actually mean? Let's plan better for that, both on the curriculum instruction side, student support, as well as staffing. So that's kind of how we're trying to make meaning of that. So next year, more flux information, I guarantee it. In closing, next steps is registration for next year. The 25-26 school year begins on February 1st. By our policy, the open enrollment period runs those first 2 weeks of February. You must be registered before you, I don't know, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the public right now. You must be registered in order to participate in the open enrollment process first. We run the lottery in March, April timeframe. Then the school sites will conduct an intent to return. We're trying to get a better sense of this so we know kind of who's returning, and they'll run that in May and June. Summer registration, we centralize that, runs over the summer. We have many ins and outs at that time when the school front offices return, and then our first day of school is on the 25-26 school year is August 18th. So we're already there.
August 198.
I changed that. It was that.
Oh, sorry, okay.
There we go. Jesus pointed that out to me, so I just made up a date, August 189. Any questions?
Okay, so before we do that, I see we have 5 minutes until we have to extend our meeting. So just because we have a little public, I have a public comment card, even if we go pretty fast, I'm not saying we should use all the time, but could we extend our meeting to 9:45? But we might not even need it.
I move to extend the meeting until 9:45. Any second?
Does it need to be the people who approved the original agenda or no?
It's supposed to be.
Oh, okay. Who was
I
that?
don't know.
No, it doesn't.
Who was the original?
For those,
Whoever it was, most people are seconding it. I'm doing
Isabel and
it.
Michelle.
Okay, great, I'm seconding.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think by 9:45, that's 20 minutes. It should be plenty of time because it's our last, pretty much almost last
Do we need
information.
to vote real quick?
Any discussion or ready to vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, chair votes aye, it passes 9:45 latest. Okay, so before we comment, we have public comment. I do have a comment card from Courtney Jansen. Come on up.
Why get your computer? Okay.
So hold on, I'm gonna- Okay, Courtney Jansen, again, obviously San Miguel parent. Great presentation, thank you, Jeremy, very enthusiastic. I would have liked to see a little bit more information on why we think we're continuing to have the declining enrollment. I know that there are trends nationally, but I'd be curious about where, if anywhere, a district is different. But I don't get to see my time. I want to talk actually a little bit about my after-school care situation, which I promise I will tie into declining enrollment, so bear with me here. You will hopefully recall that in December, we pulled our kids out of their private after-school care program that they were doing 3 days a week because it was not in line with the values that we and I think the district want our kids to grow up with. I am happy to report we found a solution, finally. We have a nanny who started this week. But that means that to keep my job and to keep my kids in public school, I had to hire a nanny. And I've been having a really hard time articulating all of my thoughts around that statement. So I'm just gonna say that I really never thought I would have to say, to keep my job and to keep my kids in public school, I had to hire a nanny. I have 2 friends in Sunnyvale, and I know this is anecdotal. They have kids about my kids' age. One of them already sends their kids to private school, and one is going to. And they have more than one reason for making that choice, but a big part of that is that both of my friends work, and they can't go to a school that does not have any sort of aftercare program. So they're going to private schools where there is an after-school care program where my friends can keep their jobs. I am kind of admitting KLES and the equivalent ones here, of course, because as you know, those programs are already full. They definitely do not meet the demand that we have. So as we talk about declining enrollment, and I think the conversation needs to be frank, it also has to really include the fact that how much of a role it does not having robust after-school care for all of our kids impact that. I see on Facebook groups and Nextdoor and so forth, regular conversations from people saying, hey, what do you do for your kids for after school? Or how do you manage your job? How do you manage the fact that you're supposed to be working until 5 o'clock and school ends at 2:10 or 12:30 on Fridays? There's another parent at San Miguel whose child is in the same program that my kids were in, and she doesn't want to go anymore. She doesn't like it. And the parent is stuck because they have to work full time. So I know it's a big ask on the district. I want to be clear that many of us are not asking for free care. We're paying for it. We are definitely willing to continue to pay for it, but it is exhausting and frustrating. And it's taken a lot of dedication. You know, I did think at one point we could just put them in private school and not have to deal with this. And I said, no, we're going to put them in public school. But it's been a very hard challenge for families where both parents are working. So thank you for looking at this. I appreciate your time and consideration. So that's what I got. I'll fix your computer.
No, thank you.
I just also, are there any public comments online? If you have a public comment online, you can raise your electronic hand. Okay. Board, any discussion, any questions? No, very exciting. Thank you so much. And I'm excited about the new metric and appreciate all the work and
I
the
love the name Flux, I forgot. Is that a name from who put it on?
Yes,
Sci-Fi.
sci-fi.
Made it up?
Actually,
I know, it's very sci-fi, Doctor Who.
Dr. Dean knows I do enjoy labeling things, and the original, looking at Dr. Gallagher, one of the original ideas was churn. And we did not like what that was doing to students. So I believe I was at a Cherry Chase staff meeting last year, kind of opened it up for groupthink, and the word flux came out. So we're fluctuating and flux capacitor and all things flux, so.
It's like Back to the Future.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Great Scott, okay.
Yeah. Michelle?
Yeah, I just real fast just wanna just kind of like public know, right? So I wanna point out two things. One, and I think there's that attached 32-page report that's gonna give you more than enough information that kind of covers a lot of this stuff. But I think one of the things it does, I read the first 8 pages that you had recommended. And one of the things it does mention, which I remember this when we were getting the presentations the first few years that I was on the board, that like we are an anomaly around us, right? So at that time, everyone else was in declining enrollment and we were going up. And that's happening right now. I mean, there's maybe those outside outliers or other reasons or whatever. Not outliers, but reasons it's happening. But I think it also, there's something about the city of Sunnyvale and Sunnyvale School District, right? And like, there are problems, it's not perfect, like what Courtney brought up, like childcare is a tricky space. It's a tricky space everywhere, not that we don't wanna try to work on it, but it's not an easy solution. If it was, we would have solved it. But I just wanted to make note that it's, even though there are potential reasons why our numbers are going up that don't have to do with our district, I would probably argue that a few of those numbers are because we're a pretty good district. So I just kind of want to throw out that, like everyone around us is declining more significantly than we are.
Correct. Sunnyvale is definitely a very special place, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, next item is item 14, information agenda, the Williams Uniform Complaint Settlement Quarterly Report. It's in the agenda, there's no discussion on that. The following item is future meetings and adjournment. Our next meeting will be Thursday, February 6th, 2025 at 6 p.m. It's a regular board meeting here at the district office. This meeting is adjourned at 9:30 p.m. on the dot. Okay.
You can make your
Just in case, we're very careful.